been with the police department this year will be 30 years. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I've been asked to talk to you just briefly about some break-ins that we've had, and I just want to offer some information to you. You're probably already aware of everything that I'm going to give you, but it's just a reminder. Now, we've had a rash here lately of break-ins at in Radcliff, especially on Wilson Road. And so the first thing I do is rewind and ask you, if you haven't already updated your emergency information sheet, and I brought some blank ones with me with City Hall or the police department, please do that, because sometimes when we're out checking businesses early in the morning, we find a business that's either broken into or is unsecured, and then we don't have a point of contact. So first thing I'd ask you to do is make sure that your information is up to date with the police department as far as emergency point of contact. Then I would encourage you, obviously if you can afford to put an alarm on your business, that would be awesome. That would really help us out. Most of the businesses that have been hit, most if not all of them, and when I say rash of burglaries here lately, we've had upwards 20 in the past probably month or so. So it's been, and we noticed some common denominators on the burglaries, but overall there really hasn't been enough to where we can catch them just yet, but we will. I assure you we will. We're going to work diligently, and we're going to have officers out. But what I'd ask you again, if you can afford an alarm, do that. If not, at least a video. That helps us out tremendously. Common sense things like lighting on your business, make sure that it's lit real well. Things like leaving the suspects in this latest string of burglaries are going straight to the cash box, and they're probably doing more damage to the business than they are actually getting money. So what they're doing basically is breaking, if there's a glass front door, they're basically breaking the front glass door out, going in, going directly to the cash register, and then leaving. We would ask again that if you have videos, make us aware of that. The lighting, the alarms, any type of shrubbery or bushes around the business, anything like that you can do to help make the place more visible from the road or from a passerby. I think that you're going to help better secure it, because the places that they've hit pretty much have been not lit very well. Some of them, for the most part, some of them are, one or two of them I think were actually out on Dixie Highway, and I don't know that there's a whole lot else you can do when you have an alarm. You have it well lit and you're out on Dixie Highway. Sometimes if they want to get in a business, they're going to do it no matter what we do, but we can reduce that risk, or we can make it hard on them. If you have any cash at your business, don't leave it, if at all possible, don't leave any at the business, but if you have to, leave small amounts. If you notice anybody suspicious in your business, I think that whoever's doing this at some point in time is probably casing the businesses. I think probably during business hours they're coming in there, and they may act like they're just looking around, and then they'll leave. If you see anyone that is suspicious or you would like to have identified, by all means call us. We'll come out, we'll identify them. If anything, just identify who they are. You're John Doe, you're just shopping, okay, no problem, have a good day. We got their information on file just in case something does happen later. Ask again, we do have an anonymous tips line. If any of you or your friends or family or anything like that, if you're not friends with us on the city Facebook, please do that, because we do occasionally post information on that. We got the recent picture of the burglary, one of the burglary suspects we're looking for on this last Facebook post, so that's on there. Can I answer any questions for anyone? What we can do to better serve you? And let me say this too, because it throws a little bit of confusion to us when people say this. None, to our knowledge, they have not, of course we haven't caught the suspects. These are burglaries, not robberies. And the law distinguishes on a robbery when there's force, when there's a weapon, or there's threat of force or use of force to obtain the robbery, then to obtain the theft, then that makes it a robbery. What we're talking about is burglaries. We're talking about businesses that are unoccupied and folks are breaking in them. We don't know whether or not they're armed or not. For our sake, we're going to automatically assume that they are, and you all just as well. If you show up at your business in the morning and it looks like it's been broken into, stop right there. Please don't go in. Call us because, one, we don't know if they're still in the business. And then two, if we go in the business, we contaminate potential physical evidence that we can collect. I tell you on this, our detectives will come out. We have some valuable evidence that we've obtained on these last few burglaries. I think we're going to make great progress on them. But again, sometimes things like this, as Chief Easter, or Bryce Shoemate, Ralph Craig, any of these guys will tell you, sometimes these things take time. These guys go out here and they get greedy. And eventually they get caught, but unfortunately at the expense of the businesses who have to replace the doors, who have to replace the, the money they lost or what have you. So again, I think that just if you keep in mind that it is happening a lot here recently, if you keep your place well lit, maybe change if you have timers on your business's lights, any vehicles that you can leave out in the parking lot to throw them off or anything like that. Anything we can do to divert their attention to think that somebody may be in there or something's different than what it normally is, I think that that's what we need to do. But again, I don't know if they're armed or not. I think we can probably assume that they are. Any other questions for anybody? Yes, ma'am, Pam.
Was there a common denominator as far as the time goes?
There is not. Originally, we thought maybe it was on the weekends and it was early morning hours. The last few that we've had have come, I would say anytime, and let me narrow it down just a little bit for you. This is not going to be much help, but we thought it was after midnight till 6 in the morning originally, and now we're looking at probably after 7 p.m. I think the last business had left at 6 or so, and so we're guessing probably around 7 or after. We don't know. These guys are pretty good at what they're doing right now because they're greedy and they're wanting more and more and more, so they're going to hit more. So if you have something that that they can see from the outside that looks attractive, looking in, or if they go in your business, they're going to try to hit you. They're going directly to cash registers and taking cash straight to it, taking that out. Now that's not to say they won't take anything else of value. We had one business that had a cell phone laying there on the counter that the customer or the owner had left overnight and didn't realize it. And then when he came back in, he realized it was still there after they'd been broken into, and it shocked us that they left that. But if you have anything that's extremely valuable, that's not too much of a burden to remove, I would encourage you to do that. But again, things like computers or your normal business, obviously you can't do that. Take whatever other measures you can to help protect yourself. Again, cameras, alarms, anything like that. Our guys are out at night doing extra patrols and they're calling it in, so we're trying to narrow it down. But again, sometimes things like these, they take a little bit of time to try to solve them. One alarm recently diverted a burglar because we received the call when we got there. There were signs where they had tried to break in, but they weren't successful. Obviously, it set off the alarm. Obviously, an audible alarm would be best because it's loud and that's the last thing they want is attention drawn to them. So, yeah, alarms are extremely helpful. But again, I understand if you can't afford one of those, but if you can get a video system that works, that really helps us. And they're not very expensive. You can get these GoPros or what you call them at Walmart, and they're real cheap. Anything that you can do to help, protect your assets, or help protect us. If you are going to leave valuables in your shop, just like your home, you need to make sure that you record all the serial numbers of all the property, any unique identifying numbers, because once we have a serial number, we can enter that piece of property in a national database. We actually have detectives. We are part of a program that we can check pawn shops, not just in Kentucky or here locally, but within the region, within the United States. So if they take your computer and you have a serial number and they pawn it, we're going to track that down one day. But again, you have to have serial numbers or unique identifying numbers for that. Anyone else? That was too easy. Thank you all very much. I'm going to leave these forms here if anybody needs any. Just leave them with you. Is that okay? All right.